focus on
So
that.
all of these words in Lord's Prayer, in the book of Matthew and in the book of Luke, they are words of prayer, okay, and they mean a lot of different things.
No, they
Okay,
don't.
wait. I'm saying I'm responding to that
I don't
sister.
care if you're
Okay,
responding. While I'm
okay.
standing here, I defend my faith.
Okay.
This is my
Okay.
faith. I don't need a Muslim to teach me my faith.
Stop screaming.
I don't need a Muslim to teach me my faith.
Can you have a
You
conversation?
should look at your faith, not defend.
Calm down.
No.
Don't talk over me.
I will
I'm a
talk over
lady.
you. I don't care.
Don't talk
I gave
over
you
me.
respect and you
I
didn't
gave
take
you
it.
respect.
You threw it away.
He's
You
not
threw the
well. He's
respect
clearly not
away.
well.
You threw
A lot of
respect
these-
away.
a lot of
So
missionaries.
disrespectful.
No, you threw it
You are
away.
so disrespectful.
You threw it away.
Did you take your medication?
I took you. I gave you.
Did you take
I
your
gave you a
medication
chance
today?
to speak, and you carried on lying.
Injection today. Should I give you one?
Have you got one?
Did you get?
Have you got
Yeah,
one?
I got. Come on.
Where is it? Where is it?
On the back side.
Oh, it's got a, no, I'm having it on the backside.
On the back side. Come up in there, too.
Okay.
You shut up.
This gentleman,
He's talking
no,
to me.
this gentleman is doing this deliberately. He doesn't
He's
want to have us.
talking to me.
He doesn't
You
want.
see,
us,
again,
Talk to me.
everybody that
Okay.
tries to have a bit of
Can you
humour,
move the camera?
he
somewhere?
wants to
Move
make
somewhere
it.
else. We're gonna move away from him.
Yes.
Bye. Chicken, chicken, chicken.
Okay. The prayer, first of all, the prayer taught by Jesus Christ to his followers does not in any shape or form contradict the Muslim beliefs. Number one, right? If you read it carefully, you will see what I'm talking about. And the discussion we were having was the way Jesus prayed is not what he's saying, because what we say in our prayers as Muslims is very similar to what Jesus taught to his companions, right? Jesus was a monotheist. He believed in one God. He never preached three persons in one God. Never did that. Okay? He was a strict monotheist himself. In fact, when one of the Jewish people, Jewish questioners came and asked him, what is the first commandment? He said, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God. This was the point. He should have taught the Trinity. If Jesus was part of the Trinity, if he was God incarnate, God on earth, this was the time when he should have said, hold on a second, you, the Jewish people, you have been worshipping one person, one being called the Father. Now there is a new covenant. There is God the Son, who is me, and there is a third person called the Holy Spirit, and you worship three persons in one. He didn't do that. In fact, he is confirming the Jewish belief, which was strictly monotheistic. And how did he pray is the question. Now, why does this hurt some of these missionaries in the park and elsewhere? When we actually practically demonstrate how Jesus prayed, how he prayed, not what he said in prayer. The question is, how did he pray? Okay, it's a very important question. He is a prophet. Christians believe he was God in flesh. We ask a question, how did he pray? It's a very important question. He preached so much, he talked about so many things in different places to different people. How did he pray? And the only reference in the New Testament we find as to how he prayed is actually prostration. Amazingly, it states in the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 39, that Jesus went further into the Garden of Gethsemane and he fell on his face. How do you fall on your face? I ask you, how do you fall on your face? You don't fall like that. If you fall like that, you break your face. Do you agree?
Yes.
Do you agree? So how do you fall on your face is the question. How do you fall on your face? You fall on your face like this. I'm going to demonstrate. This is how you fall on your face, right? This is how you fall on your face. Your face has to touch the ground. This is what we call in Islam sajda. In English, prostration. And the book of Matthew chapter 26 verse 36 to 39 clearly states that he went further into the Garden of Gethsemane and he prayed to God. He what?
Prayed to God.
He what?
Prayed to God.
Prayed to God. So Jesus is actually praying like that. Who prays like that today? Okay, if you go to the Christian world, you go to the American churches, you go to Canada, you go to Australia, you come to the UK, you go to Africa, you see Christians, you will see them singing and dancing in churches with guitars, and they will be singing songs different depending on culture and people. You know, they will be praying in the different ways. But what you will not find is how Jesus prayed. Okay? Now the question is, why was Jesus praying like that? Did he just invent something? No. He was following Moses. What are we told in the Bible? Moses went to the sacred valley and he fell on his face again to pray to God. Okay? It doesn't stop there. We go back. Abraham, in the book of Genesis, we are told that Abraham fell on his face and he prayed to God. Prophet Muhammad later on tells us that this is how all the prophets prayed. I'm not bringing a new prayer. I'm not inventing new things. So what does this show you? Prophet Muhammad is actually following the same faith as Abraham, as Jesus, as Moses. Now, let me go further. What were things common about these prophets? Very quickly, I will finish. What were common things about these prophets? One of the common things they had was the way they prayed. Do you all agree? The way they prayed. They fell on their faces and they prayed to God. Sajda, prostration. Okay? Another thing common about them, they were all circumcised men. From Abraham to Muhammad, all of them were circumcised, including Jesus. Now, Jesus, the Christians believe, is God. If he's God, then he would be God when he was a child, right? Even in the stomach of Mary, he was God, right? So when he was born, seventh day he was circumcised. Now God, 8th day, 9th day, who cares, okay, right? But he was circumcised, right? Now imagine God being circumcised against his wishes. Can you imagine that? You go to circumcise God, and God doesn't want the Christians to be circumcised, because it is the Christians who don't circumcise today, predominantly. Only African nations are now paying people to circumcise. You know why? You know why? Anyone? No, Christians, African nations are paying to circumcise. You know why? Because circumcision reduces the risk of HIV by 50%. So in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, circumcision is equated with Islam. But now the governments are paying the Christians to circumcise because it protects against HIV. Amazingly, right? But Jesus, Moses, Abraham, and all the Israelite prophets and Muhammad were circumcised. So this was also something common between them. Another point, none of them ate swine. They didn't eat pig meat. Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, all four of them, they forbade the meat of pig. Okay? When you go throughout the Christian world, bacon sandwiches or pig steaks, they are